I added this slide in last night, so after seeing Warren's poster about experiencing war, this is a couple we took out from Wellington. This is back in November 2021. I thought it was a great example of two people really having that experience. I think the idea of us having dark sky places, this helping people have these moments should be one of the main driving goals for that. I'm here to talk about the Rakiura Dark Sky Sanctuary. When we last time there was a Starlight conference, we sent someone down. We were brand new. We'd just been formed, and now we're 5 years old, so we're ready to go to primary school. A confession to make as well. It's really an accident that I'm here because in 2015, when I first went to Stewart Island, I meant to stay for 4 days. So having been married and had 2 kids and started a business 10 years later, things have really got out of hand quite a bit. So for those who might not be familiar with Stewart Island, here's New Zealand, South Island. We're just here, and Stewart Island, we're just down here, off the south coast of the South Island. New Zealand's 3rd largest island, so like Melanie was saying earlier, about 1,700 square kilometres, which is 3 times the size of Singapore, which 2.5 times the size, but with around 400 people. 85% of the land is in a national park. We've only 28 kilometres of roads, which means fewer street lights, but 270 kilometres of walking tracks, which is great if you're interested in tramping. And to get there, you just have a 1-hour ferry from Bluff, or like a 20-minute flight from Rakiura. And we're very lucky that we have a visitor levy, so there's a small charge that's added to tickets to the island in order to help pay for our infrastructure. That gives us very accurate numbers on how many people have visited the island. So as you can see, since 2018, it's been about stable, about 40,000 people per year, which is quite a lot. Here we go. The entire town, basically one town on the island that's just here, just in this corner of the island. The rest of the island is pretty much free. Here it is. This is Oms, where I live. And there's 450 of us apparently on the island, but about 15 to 20,000 Kiwis, which is one of the main reasons why people come to visit. The photo here, I was trying to think. I think it was probably about 2/3 of the buildings on Stewart Island in that photo. And yeah, tourism is a really major source of revenue. So a lot of people will travel to this island up here, which is called Ulver Island. It's predator free, and they go over there, and it's an internationally renowned sort of bird watching destination. So the Dark Sky Sanctuary was really established as a means to boost tourism and give us more activities to do at night. So often people would come to do kiwi spotting at night, and then our astrotourism was basically to kind of enhance the number of activities people could come to the island to do. So it took us about 2 years, the application, which I'm getting the sense talking to people this week was relatively rapid. It was really supported by Great South, Stewart Island Promotions Association, who I'm representing today, and DOC. And so we did the normal sort of lighting survey. I was part of that. I was one of the volunteers going around examining people's outdoor lighting to try and figure out what the sort of status quo was. I think at the time we were the 17th Dark Sky Sanctuary in the world. I think there's at least 20 now. And the 4th, I thought it was the 4th Dark Sky place in New Zealand, but apparently Waiheke was just after us. I thought it was just before us. Yeah, so this is the application process. Like I say, Great South and Stewart Island Promotions Association, which is what drove that. The council were very supportive. They changed the street lighting to 3,000 Kelvin, although now after hearing some of these talks, I'm going to push them to lower that again. They updated the district plan with new rules for outdoor lighting, which is really good. Me and my wife are building a house at the moment, and that house is going to have to comply with those rules around outdoor lighting, which is great. At the time, we had 94% compliance with the lightscape management plans, which was great, and we've just been picking off the remaining sort of people after that. Because we're quite a maritime community, there's a lot of fishing. Some of those navigation lights and health and safety things on wharves are hard to change that behaviour. And yeah, Stewart Island Promotions Association is in charge of the ongoing governance. So these are the sky quality readings that we've been taking. So over the past 5 years, every year we've renewed our readings and included it in our annual report. So you can see most of it is above this 21.5 magnitudes per arcsecond squared. 1 year, the purple line, we did the readings in July, and we learned a lesson there because the Milky Way was overhead. So the Milky Way is a source of light pollution in these readings has been quite a problem. So now we tend to stick to later months like October, November. I'm going to be going out and doing them, I think, next week. And another story from last year, so the first time I went out and did them myself, I took over from the previous person. I took the sky quality meter out on a night I thought was going to be really good. And it was the readings were off the scale, like 24 magnitudes per arcsecond squared. And I was like, oh, this is great. And I showed Amy Young and Gareth Davies. I said, you know, this seemed really high, but maybe it was just like a perfect night. And Amy was like, being very diplomatic, okay, maybe. And Gareth came and he's like, don't tell them, don't tell anyone. They'll think you're Barney. So, sure enough, we got a new sky quality meter over, and the readings were this green line here. So, just a word of warning to anyone using those meters: they can maybe fail upwards if they lose their sensitivity or they've installed them properly. So yeah, some of the things happened early on around the Dark Sky Sanctuary, where we so Great South and the Promotions Association really worked on having some branding around the Dark Sky Sanctuary, which is similar to here in Tekapo. You can see that really strongly. So we're lucky we've got 2 entry points on the ferry or the plane. So it was very easy to put these large signs up. So everyone that visits the island, one of the first things they see is the sign kind of showing them that it is a Dark Sky Sanctuary. And these brochures are available in most places. And Great South also did some work around getting some photography done around the national park, showcasing the night sky as well. So the motivation for us was really, in terms of developing Stewart Island further as a tourism destination. So we're at a case where we're sort of at the end of a road. You have to make a very deliberate decision to visit Stewart Island. So it wasn't sort of trying to get people to stay, it was, once they were there, trying to get them to stay longer. And also extra nighttime activities, and also more in the winter and the shoulder seasons, when it gets dark earlier. There's something to do, encourage people to visit then. And so the one thing I would like more of is more data like this, but back in 2020 when we were brand new, 15% of visitors were listing stargazing as a key attraction, which was a good start, but I'd like to improve on that. And one thing that was really good, which I'd recommend to other dark sky places who've just set up, is this Dark Sky Ambassador course. So I think in 2020 we were about 1.5 years old. I think most people knew we were a Dark Sky Sanctuary, but sort of like a new toy, we didn't really know how to use it or play with it. So the Great South and Royal Astronomical Society set up a 2-day sort of workshop on all sorts of things: practical astronomy skills, astronomy knowledge, astrotourism. So I think I'm here, I think Amy Young is over here, and Gareth here is talking to John Drummond. So Gareth and John Drummond and Nalini were all kind enough to come down and help us out. And sort of that was quite key for us, me and my wife. I'll circle back to that in a little bit. But yeah, just to pump Amy's tires a little bit, we've had lots of help from her. She's been great, and she actually was recognised by Razans for her help a couple of years ago with the Bright Star Award. It wasn't the only prestigious award awarded that night. Jen and I won the fancy dress competition at the conference dinner. And I'll let you interpret Steve Butler's face there, facial expression. Yeah, so we as Twinkle, we've been trying to support the Darkside Sanctuary by holding public events. We're placed to do that because we have the equipment and the knowledge. So this was a lunar eclipse in 2021. We were quite chuffed with that because I think a lot of the rest of the country was cloudy, but we were clear. It was frosty though, the chairs were had frost on the bottom by the end of the night. We try and hold a Matariki viewing each year. So here you can see a couple of our street lights. It's probably 10% of the street lights on the island. And so, looks like it. Oh yeah,
I think it's frozen.
Oh.
Not moving.
Oh, there you go, sweet. And more recently, one thing we've been trying to do is get more into trying to raise awareness of nocturnal wildlife, so the bats. This is work I do with a different group I'm part of called CIRSIT, the Stewart Island Rakiura Community and Environment Trust. So we've been putting out bat detectors, and this is my dad analysing some bats, some of these spectrographs. So this is a long-tailed bat call, and so we're trying, because people don't see them, they're out at night, we're trying to raise awareness of these creatures. And another one, yeah. Is it? Ah, cool, awesome. And the other one we've done certainly this year is trying to raise awareness of moths on the island, because we've got so much forest, we've got quite intact biodiversity. This was a talk we did during Conservation Week this year to kids and some of the adults about moths. And this has really been kicked off by the finding of this thing here, which is a moth that had not been seen in 60 years, called the frosted phoenix. Turned up in March randomly at the hotel, at the pub. There's a Swedish nature guide who had a moth light with him, left it out while he was looking for kiwis, and when he came back he had this. He didn't know what it was, but a few weeks later he put it on iNaturalist, and the New Zealand entomology community just went mental. It's like the holy grail of New Zealand moths. It hadn't been seen since 1959, and only 10 had ever been seen in entirety. So that we're trying to raise a bit of awareness of that, and hopefully have a bit of a search for that this summer, which dovetails with the dark sky sanctuary quite well. So yeah, back at the Dark Sky Sanctuary course, Jen and I were like, well, we could actually do this, start up a stargazing and business. And she said, well, if it doesn't work, at least we've got a car and a cool telescope. So yeah, so this is us. So we try and, so we've been running these tours for about 3 years now. We're quite proud of it, so we have a little setup. We just try and keep people cozy and warm, because I've noticed the perception of Stewart Island is that we're about 2 steps away from Antarctica. So the idea of being out at night is sort of not tempting for a lot of people, unless they've got hot chocolate coming. This is our public opening, which again was sort of dual purpose. It supports the Dark Sky Sanctuary and increases people's awareness. And the types of visitors we've had a lot, mostly fully independent travellers, because they're the ones that choose to come to Stewart Island. We don't get a lot of coach tours because it doesn't nicely fit on a kind of itinerary. We've had some aurora hunting tours. That's definitely since the Dark Sky Sanctuary. We like to do as many school groups as possible in terms of sort of spreading the word out as well. We've had some weird ones, like we were asked to go on a super yacht. Last week we had a cruise ship group, and we even had an engagement part, like some people, a surprise engagement where they wanted us to do a tour and they were going to propose. So this, I realise, repeats a lot of what Nalani was saying earlier, but really we've got a lot of advantages here in New Zealand. Astrotourism, because the dark places are largely rural, it gets people out of the cities and encourages and spreads it around. Again, it's quite achievable. We're likely, in most places, drawing attention to values that already exist. Really, I've noticed this with our tours, really attracted to people from the Northern Hemisphere and highly urbanized places like Singapore and Hong Kong. We get a lot of visitors from there. I had a really sweet lady from Singapore. As soon as she opened the door to our car, she just went, wow, to the Milky Way was overhead. It was like the best reaction I've ever had. It was like, let's go home now. And yeah, really been great for us in terms of adding value when we was already somewhere that people were visiting to. And really just emphasize this last point, it really works well when regional development agencies are supporting it rather than small groups of volunteers. So yeah, so I'll just leave you with this. This is the other reason why we should have lots of Alasdair tourism, is because, like, this is my favourite quote of mine: the Southern Hemisphere holds all the good stuff, as far as the night sky is concerned. Thank you.